This is Steve with Rocky Mountain ATV MC, and today I'm going to show you how to rebuild the top end on a Yamaha Banshee. There could be a number of reasons why you'd need to rebuild the top end on your Banshee. Low compression, lack of power, or even doing it as a preventive measure to freshen it up before your riding season. So today I'm going to show you how to do that on this 1993 Yamaha Banshee YFC 350. Now the procedures that I'm going to show you will work on all Banshees ranging from 87 to 2006, but you need to check with your service manual to be sure. To do this job you need some basic hand tools, torque wrenches, calipers, telescoping gauges, a machinist's edge, feeler gauge and piston pin puller, along with contact cleaner, rags, gloves and safety glasses, and a copy of your OEM service manual for more information, proper procedures and specs. As for parts, we offer a wide variety of OEM and aftermarket parts. At the minimum, you would need a top end gasket kit, 2 wrist pin bearings, 2 piston kits, spark plugs, coolant, and 2-stroke oil. Now we also offer a complete top end rebuild kit, which is the one we're using today from Q&A Parts, and it comes with 2 cylinders, 2 pistons, rings, wrist pin bearings, cylinder plugs, and all the gaskets. If you do decide to use this kit, you will need to get 2 spark plugs, coolant, and 2-stroke oil. First, we need to secure our machine safely. Make sure to clean your machine before you tear it down. You don't want dirt getting inside of your motor. Next, let's turn off the fuel. Remove the seat, plastics, and fuel tank. Next, let's remove the exhaust. We're going to do that by removing the springs and mounting hardware. After the exhaust, we'll remove the air box. When you do this, just make sure that you put the coolant bottle to the side so it's out of the way. Then we'll remove the intake boots, carburetors, along with the crossover tube and the reed valve assemblies. When you do this, loosen the bolts half turn at a time in a crisscross pattern to remove them. Now let's drain the coolant. We'll start by removing both the drain plugs on each cylinder to get the coolant out of the cylinders, and we'll pull off the coolant hoses and drain the rest of it out there. After you pull the drain plug, if you remove the radiator cap, this will speed up the draining process. After that, we can remove the spark plug caps and spark plugs. Once you get to this point, we need to remove the cylinder head. Now Yamaha has provided numbers on top of the stock cylinder head, and this is the bolt pattern that we need to follow when we remove it and install it. Now if you have an aftermarket head, you need to follow the same procedure, or if they've stated that in their instructions, you need to follow it. Now to break all these loose, we're going to do a 1/4 to a 1/2 a turn each one, following the bolt pattern procedure to remove them all. Once you get the nuts off, go ahead and remove all the washers as well. Now we need to remove the cylinder head. If you need to, you can use a rubber mallet to break it loose. Make sure to remove the gasket once you get the head removed. Next, take a 12mm box end wrench, and we need to break the 4 bolts that hold each cylinder loose. We want to do that using a 1/4 turn to break them loose in a crisscross pattern, then go ahead and remove them. Now let's remove the cylinders. Again, if you need a rubber mallet to break them loose, go ahead and do so. Make sure to catch the piston when you remove the cylinder. You don't want it to fall and have the rod hit the case. This could cause damage and sealing problems later. Now we need to remove the gasket. There's also 2 dowel pins that you want to make sure not to drop into the bottom of the case. It's also a good idea to shove a rag down in the crankcase. This will hold the rod and the piston upward, and you won't get debris down into your crankcase. Now that we've got that off, let's go ahead and repeat the same process on the other side. Now we're ready to remove the pistons. The procedure that I'm going to show you will work on both sides. Now we need to remove the circlip off of the outer side of one piston. We'll use our piston pin pulling tool. We'll install it to remove the piston pin. The piston pin tool we're using today is from Motion Pro. Now how it works is it has a small keeper that has reverse thread that you would screw on after you insert it into the piston. Now there's a few different adapters that you can use to help remove these pistons and other type of pistons, and then you simply just back off the bolt, which will pull the pin out in a controlled manner. Now once we've done that, we can remove the piston off of the rod along with the bearing out of the rod. Now what you don't want to do is use a socket and a hammer to beat the piston pin out. You could potentially bend your crankshaft rod. Now that we have our pistons removed, we need to clean all of our parts and gasket surfaces. Now this would also be a good time to go through your carburetors and clean your air filter. We have some good how-to videos if you need more information on that. Anytime you work on your machine, it's a good idea to stay organized. Find a clean area and lay out all of your parts. This will help keep track of everything, and it'll help with the reassembly process. Now that we have all of our parts clean, the first thing we need to inspect is the crankshaft to make sure that it's in good shape and it's going to continue to work properly. What you want to look for there is discoloration. Now if you have discoloration in the upper or lower part of your rod, chances are that there's too much heat there and there's something that's going on, and you'll need to investigate that further. Now the other thing you want to inspect is take your wrist pin bearing and piston pin and go ahead and insert that into the connecting rod. And what you don't want is up and down motion or a rocking motion in that. If that's the case, then there's probably too much wear on the upper part of your rod and you would need to replace it. Now the next thing we need to check is the free play in the lower part of the connecting rod. Now you want absolutely no free play up and down, but you are going to have it side to side. Now Yamaha's spec is 0.25 to 0.75 millimeters, and we use our feeler gauge to check that. Ours comes in at 0.55 millimeters of free play, so we just need to repeat that process on this side to make sure that it's good to go. The next thing we need to check is for cylinder head and cylinder warpage. Now how we're going to do that is you take a machinist edge and you need to take a feeler gauge and try and fit that underneath the machinist edge in multiple locations. So that would mean that you'd need to move it all around the head diagonally, vertically, horizontally, and check into multiple places to see if it's still within spec. You do the same thing on the cylinder in multiple locations as well. Now Yamaha's service limit there is 0.03 millimeters, so if you can fit that underneath your machinist edge, then it's warped. You either need to machine it or replace it. Now before we inspect and measure our cylinder, there's a few things that we need to talk about that are specific to the Banshee. Now the Banshee has steel cylinders, unlike the plated ones that are most common nowadays. Now because they are steel, when you are going to rebuild it, you most likely will have to have it bored over to the next size piston. Now our machine is stock, and so we can refer to our service manual for our specifications. Now if your machine has aftermarket parts or you're installing aftermarket parts, the procedure will be the same, but your specs may vary. Also your tolerances may vary depending on what parts you're putting in your machine. For instance, if you're installing a Wiseco piston, the piston to cylinder clearance will be slightly different than the OEM piston. So what I'm getting at is you need to find out what you have to work with first, then you need to gather all the necessary information about the parts that you're going to install in your machine before you can move on with your rebuild. Now we can measure our cylinder. The tools we need is a telescoping gauge. To measure that telescoping gauge, the most accurate way is using a micrometer. You can use a caliper as well, it will do the job too. You'll also need a pad of paper and a pen. Now what we need to do is take our telescoping gauge and we need to measure an X and a Y axis in our cylinder. But we need to do it in 3 levels. We need to do the top, middle, and bottom of the cylinder. Now all these measurements together will give us an overall size of the bore. Now keep in mind that on the middle measurement, you need to either measure it above or below the ports to get the most accurate measurement. We're going to go ahead and measure both cylinders. Now that we've measured our cylinders and found that one is out of spec and one is within spec, we have a few options. Because you don't want to run your motor out of balance, you could either send both of them off to the machine shop and have them bored over or re-sleeved, or you could go ahead and replace them back to stock. Now if your cylinders are out of spec and you are sending it to the machine shop, you would simply just order one size over piston of what you measured and send that with your cylinders to the machine shop and they'll do that work. Now if your cylinders are in spec, you'd simply run a ball hole through them to freshen up the crosshatch and order the pistons that are appropriate for the size that you've measured from your cylinder, and then go ahead and install those. But keep in mind, anytime that you are putting a piston in a new cylinder or a bored cylinder, you definitely need to check the ring end gap. Now, if you need some information on that, we have a really good video that you should check out there. Now, like I said before, we've elected to go ahead and replace the whole top end with the Q&A parts kit because it comes with everything we need to do the job. First up, for our reassembly, let's install our dowel pins and then our base gaskets. The next thing we need to do is assemble our pistons. Now I've gone ahead and assembled this piston, But what we need to do is take our circlip and we need to install it on the side that is closest to your other piston. Now the reason we're doing that is so that when you install your piston pin, you're doing it from the outside in. Now the thing with circlips is you need to have the opening face away from the little notch that they've given for you to help remove it. You need to face that the other way. Now the next thing we need to do is install our rings. Now all piston rings will have a dot or a letter or a number stamped onto the ring, and that always needs to face up. Now on this particular piston ring setup, they've got a 1T and a 2T. The 1T will go in the first ringland and the 2T will go in the second ringland. Now you need to rotate these rings around so that the opening lines up with the pin that has been pressed into the piston. When you do your piston rings, if you find the pin first and take the ring and slowly tweak it down so that it'll rest in the ringland, then you can follow the piston or the ring around the piston. You don't want to pull on it hard, you don't want to try and bend it because these are brittle and they will break easy, so just be very careful and make sure that it sits inside the groove as you're going around the piston. You want to be able to squeeze it so that it lines right up with that pin. We'll do the same thing with the top. Now let's take some assembly lube and apply it to the wrist pin bearing and install that into the rod. Now I also like to use a little assembly lube on the lower rod bearing so that I know it has some lubrication. You can also use 2-stroke oil if you don't have assembly lube. Now let's take a little assembly lube and apply it to the wrist pin and install the piston onto the rod and push the wrist pin through the piston. Now again, make sure that the arrow on the top of the piston faces the exhaust port or the front of the motor. Next we'll install the circlip with the gap facing away from the notch. Now before we install our cylinders, you want to install the coolant plug that goes in the bottom of the cylinder. Now if you're reusing some old cylinders, then you need to make sure that that is sealing properly, as you don't want any coolant leaks in the future. These are pretty simple, you just go ahead and place them in there and push them in. Now we just need to apply some assembly lube to the inside of the cylinder wall and go ahead and install our cylinder on the piston. Now when you're installing your cylinder, take your time and be careful. Make sure that you rotate your rings so that they line up with the pins in the piston, and you need to compress those as you're sliding the cylinder skirt over top of the piston. Now if you need to, go ahead and stick a cylinder nut on to hold the cylinder down, finger tight, so that you can rotate the motor and repeat the same steps on the other side. Now I've put the other bolts on the other cylinders just finger tight so that it'll hold the cylinders down. Now I want to rotate the motor over just to make sure that everything's working properly. Now we're ready to go ahead and install our cylinder nuts. Let's torque them all to 20 foot-pounds in a crisscross pattern. Next, let's install the head gasket. Now the word up is written in the head gasket. You need to make sure that you can read that when you're installing it. Now to prep our cylinder head, we need to go ahead and install our coolant joint. We'll just use a new gasket and we'll torque those to 8 foot-pounds. Now we can install the cylinder head and nuts. Now we need to torque these in 2 stages following Yamaha's crisscross pattern that they have provided. The first stage we'll do at 12 foot-pounds and the second stage we'll do at 20 foot-pounds. Now if you have an aftermarket head, you can refer to the OEM service manual for this procedure or follow the instructions for your cylinder head. Now that we have the head torqued down, let's install our cylinder drain bolts and torque those to 10 foot-pounds, followed by installing our spark plugs and spark plug caps. Then we'll install our coolant hoses and add coolant. Now the reason that we're adding coolant now is so that we can check for leaks while we're reinstalling the rest of the parts on the machine. Next, we need to install our reed valves with new gaskets. We'll install all the bolts and torque them all in a crisscross pattern to 7.2 foot-pounds. Then we can install the carburetors, followed by the crossover tube. Make sure that you get the choke crossover tube attached as well. And then we'll install the airbox. Next, we're going to install the exhaust, but we've elected to use a new O-ring and spring kit from FMF to do this. The next step is to install the fuel tank and fuel line. Now we're ready to start it, but before we do that, let's double check over everything first. Now once we get it started, we want to check for leaks and make sure everything sounds good and is running properly. Now that we've fired it up and checked over everything and feel confident that everything sounds good and everything's working correctly, we've double checked our coolant level. Now let's go ahead and reinstall our plastics and give it a test ride. And that's it. That's all there is to rebuilding the top end on your Yamaha Banshee. For parts like these and many more, come check us out at RockyMountainATVMC.com. And remember, all orders over $75 ship for free. And if you have any questions or comments, post them below. But make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is Steve. We'll catch you next time.